A couple of years ago, we entered into a partnership with City Church Manchester, and last year we had Matt Waldock here with us to talk about what the ministry had been doing over the last year. And at that time, we hadn't entered into any kind of a global pandemic, so we're actually going to circle back and talk to Matt again and hear what they've been doing at City Church Manchester over the last 12 months. So, Matt, welcome. Thank you for being here, and I'm glad that you were able to make the time to speak with us. And I did reference that we entered into a partnership with you a couple of years ago, but there's some people here that probably don't know who City Church Manchester is or what your mission is. So would you just take maybe just a couple minutes to tell them who you are and who City Church Manchester is and what your mission there in the UK is all about?
Yeah, hi Justin. It's really good to see you again. It's really good to be with you. And hi everyone from FPC Macon. It's my privilege to speak to you once again. And you mentioning that I was here or with you last year really brings back memories, because that was the last international journey that I took. And it was at the time when the pandemic was just breaking through into the news headlines. And I guess almost as soon as I got back, everything kind of went crazy COVID-wise in the UK. And so my final memories of normality of life really are not from Manchester, but from Macon, Georgia. So, you're my happy place to go to pre-COVID. So that's an important part of my
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Well, my name is Matt. I'm married to a lovely lady called Jackie. We have one 8-year-old son called Reuben. And I'm the pastor at City Church Manchester, and we're a church that was planted right in the very heart of Manchester about 6 years ago, with the prime goal of reaching with the gospel people who ordinarily wouldn't access or come even close to going through the doors of a church. For those of you who don't know, Manchester is one of the major cities in the UK. We would like to say that we're the second city after London, the capital. We're a very, very large city, so about 2.8 million people in the city, and we have one of the smallest church attendances of anywhere in the country, which means when we had the opportunity to move to Manchester, move my family right to the very heart of the city and plant a church there, for us it was the opportunity to join a mission field that was in real and desperate need. And we've been doing that for the last few years, working hard to share the gospel with all sorts of people in the life of the city and establish and grow a church there.
And just as an update, I know the last time you were with us, City Church Manchester is 5 years old. You were looking to plant a church. Can you just maybe tell us how your church is doing and the launch team and how that went? I mean, just very briefly, but would you just kind of give us an update on that as well?
Yeah, so, I mean, like all of us, it's been an absolutely incredible year. And it's difficult to know at the moment kind of how to summarize it, how to make sense of it, because to be honest, it's been a year where lots of really hard things have happened, but also a year of some really amazing blessings and answers to prayer. So, for example, I would say that we have, in some senses, reinvented City Church Manchester 5 times over the course of the last few months, really, from going online entirely. Then we were able to have a small gathering in a local chapel, but not the place that we normally meet. Then we were able to move back to our normal venue in the heart of Manchester, but with a very different type of service, because we're not allowed to sing, and we have to have lots of social distancing and almost no social contact with other people. So it was a very different experience. Then we had another lockdown and we had to move entirely online again. And only recently we've been allowed back into our city centre venue to restart church again with a whole variety of restrictions. So as a church, we've not been able to sing together since I was with you in February last year. And it's been a very challenging circumstance because like with lots of places across the UK, people, for various reasons, whether it's fear or health reasons or a number of other things, just haven't been able to gather physically with us. And that's been difficult for the church. It's been particularly difficult because at City Church, the people that we tend to reach out to are the de-churched people, those who aren't necessarily in a rhythm and routine of coming to church, those who aren't, card-carrying Christians. Actually, we deliberately set out there to go for the fringe, go for the people who wouldn't normally come. And of course, with the churches shutting their doors, it's been so much harder to stay in touch with those people, to keep them involved in the life of the church community, and even encourage them to come back when the government have allowed us to do that. And so that's been challenging. We've seen in lots of ways the kind of the orbit of the church, as we call it, contract, and we hope that when things return to normal, a good number of those people will rejoin us again. But at the moment, that's just not been the case, and so that's been a real sadness for us. The economic situation has been very hard in the UK, and it has hit Manchester particularly difficult. And so a number of people have had to change jobs. Many people have lost their jobs, and that means they've had to look for work elsewhere in the country, which means, again, we've lost a number of really key workers from the City Church community. So I guess the overall on that one is it has been challenging. There's been some great things happening. I'm sure we'll talk about that, but I think we're quite worn out, quite weary, to be honest with you.
Yeah, let's maybe go there for just a second. What are some things you feel like God, maybe one thing you feel like God has really taught City Church Manchester, and maybe one door that God has opened that maybe you wouldn't have anticipated because of all the things that have happened over the last 12 months?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we feel like we have learned in a vital way, actually, as a leadership here at City, is we speak of God's sovereignty. Our Reformed roots are really important to us. But actually, when lots of opportunity, resource is taken away from us, where actually we are kind of ground down in terms of energy and innovation and ideas, where we can't just fix the situation by working harder or thinking more creatively. Actually, we've come to a place where we're totally reliant on the Lord, really, and having to say, hey, this has to be a God thing. If he's to keep City Church going and to keep us on track with our mission to the city, because in some sense it feels as a leadership we've come to an end of ourselves and have found ourselves utterly reliant on the Lord, trusting that actually the hard things that we've gone through are in his big sovereign plan ultimately going to bear fruit, gospel fruit, both for the church and in the life of the city. And again, trusting that God's sovereignty means we don't necessarily get to experience all of the joy of that blessing right now, but trusting because God is good, he's just, and he's in control. Down the line, he will turn this to the benefit of the kingdom. And it's been hard for us at City because we've had to learn to be patient. We've had to learn to wait. Ralph and I love coming up with new ideas for new ministries and new opportunities. It's one of the kind of thrills that we have of working together. And we've built a team that loves to run after great evangelistic and missional opportunities in our neighborhood and in other areas of the city. But actually, we've had to pause a lot of those things. A lot of ministries have had to either shut or say, actually, we'll actually have to come back to them when things return to normal. And again, it's just trusting the Lord by doing the basics of continuing to teach His word faithfully every week, continuing to pastorally care for people, continuing to pray for people. The Lord will work as His Spirit works through those instruments of the church. And we're learning that. That's a process we're still going through, but I think that's been positive for us.
Thank you for sharing that. We had plans to come visit you with another team this past summer, which obviously got canceled, and we were able to come over a couple summers ago. And one of the things, we did a number of different things. And one of the things is, after one of your church meetings, you had me go sit down with a few of your members to talk to them about their calling, people who are working at Amazon and BBC, but they were juggling this idea of, do I keep doing this, or do I go overseas to serve the Lord in doing foreign missions? And in the middle of our foreign missions conference here, we're really pushing this idea that missions is for every believer. Like the Great Commission is for every single believer in Jesus Christ. And to be involved in mission, a given is prayer. But how are we going to be about this mission of reaching the nations, to whether go to the mission field, whether long-term or short-term, or by giving to that mission to send people to go? And I know that you guys talk about that because I saw it firsthand with some of your people. But what would you say to this idea that missions is for everyone? And if that's true, how might you encourage not just FPC, but your own people in pursuing that when they think, maybe I'm not called to that, or like my opportunities are limited, or my time is limited? How do you speak to that idea?
Yeah, I think what we've always said at City Church is actually every single one of us is called to the mission field when you become called to be a believer of Jesus Christ. It's really a question of which part of the planet the Lord has called you to serve in. And that may be in your own backyard, or it might be in somebody else's, but we all have a calling to that end. At City Church, that's a really important part of our DNA, because we were planted as a church for that missional purpose, to reach those who wouldn't ordinarily come to church. And we've always positioned ourselves, and I was saying it to you guys in Macon last year, we've always positioned ourselves as a lifeboat rather than a cruise ship, where everyone is part of the church family, is like crew on that lifeboat doing everything they can to drag in people drowning in the water, getting them on board so that they're safe. And that mission hasn't changed from when we started. And in fact, I think through a COVID year like this one, the realization of the importance of being a lifeboat is even more highlighted. What we're seeing in our city is people are really devoid of hope. We're seeing our neighbors, our colleagues in workplaces talk really openly that the hope that they used to put into relationships or job security or financial well-being, actually COVID has revealed that they are poor comforts and they are poor gods to serve. And actually what we've all been aware of is actually Christians are the ones who uniquely have a hope and a vision for life that is untarnished by the virus. And that has actually given people lots of opportunity to share the gospel, even over these months. We've seen a number of people get in contact with the church because friends have spoken to them about who Jesus is and about the hope that they have. A number of folk over the course of the year have even become Christian. We've got 3 baptisms lined up for when we're allowed to do that again, just with people who have come to faith over the course of this year. And that's a wonderful encouragement, but actually is no different from what it was like before, really. I just think people are more open to talking about the need for Christ in a way perhaps they were more distracted by their job, life, work, busyness before. I think in a place like Manchester, where you are in a city, a major world city, where the nations are coming to you, it makes you always aware when you talk of mission to talk about global mission. Because we have a large population in Manchester from the African continent, a large from Asia, a large group from the Middle East, from all sorts of people from closed Muslim countries that find themselves in Manchester, where the gospel is freely able to be preached to them. And one of the things that we do at City Church is we talk about opportunities in the city. We provide training for people, and where we get the opportunity to champion and talk about stories of conversations that we've had with friends. We take that from the front or in our small groups, just to always keep it on people's radars. Our goal is to encourage people to be evangelistically zealous, whether they look to stay in Manchester for the rest of their lives, or if they have a kind of hunger or a sense of calling to go somewhere else in the world. One of the great things that we've enjoyed when the team from Macon came over is it enhances our horizon, our gospel horizon, to hear about what the gospel is like as it takes root in other cultures that aren't Manchester. And again, that type of conversation with brothers and sisters in Christ from different parts of the world just keeps, I think, our global missional temperature high. And I hope that continues regardless of what a kind of post-COVID world looks like.
Yeah, Matt, we'll pray for you and City Church Manchester as soon as we wrap up here. But just again, it's great to talk to you. Great to see you. Hopefully we'll get over there sooner than later. And please keep in touch. Love you all. Bye.
Thank you. Love you too. Bye-bye.